That sounds a lot better without.
Now we're not being chased by aliens anymore, so I can actually hear you guys. Yes.
While you were talking, I just noticed how loud that was getting.
The entire time I was going lip reading what you guys were saying, imagining it, feeling it in. In fact, I have no idea if we're having the same conversation right now or if we are.
Really? Is it not coming through your headphones?
No, it is.
Okay, cool. You know, man, I think that the trick, like, all of us are just taught, like, we're talking about one level of consciousness, which is being in your head. Then there's this other level of consciousness, which is the heart chakra, as they say, which is like just being purely in the moment. Like, the head is great I think it is great for writing and for analyzing and for breaking apart paradigms and deconstructing things and all the various things that books tend to be. Because what are you if you're in your heart, what's your book going to be? It's just going to be... or just like one long sigh or something, like,
good book.
You know? But like when you think about the really important things, like sex, for example, the worst place to be when you are stand-up, if in sex or stand-up, if I find myself considering what I'm going to do next, I know I'm fucking up.
Right.
I know I'm not where I need to be, because when you're having sex and you get into that you're in this primal moment and you let go and you let this deeper thing take over, and suddenly you don't even know what's happening. You're just part of some volcanic explosion that's happening.
Duncan's a premature ejaculator, it sounds like.
Oh my God! How dare you? Not totally inaccurate.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Getting in your head when in anything
is a zone.
Yeah. So like the idea is it seems like I've noticed, and in running too, if I'm like thinking about where I'm running to, or like how much longer I've got, then the run is hell.
Yeah, of course.
That's every run I've ever had.
No, but I mean, not being
much longer?
Yeah, of course, but not being self-conscious is one thing. Being self-conscious the other way, about putting yourself down, and kind of in the metaphor you're using is like if in the middle of having sex, you're going like, do I really have a right to keep thrusting forward and backward?
I'm like, good enough for her.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's.
I hope she's going to have a wonderful orgasm soon.
Yeah. It's like, really, you want to do that?
Yeah. May I touch your breast now?
Right.
Yeah, I mean that all that weirdness takes me out of the moment. You know, all that consent rituals and all that bizarreness. Jesus.
Dude, can I sign Form 4 so that I can lick your asshole now?
That's Amendment 7. So what's your book about?
The book?
Yeah.
That's the fucking it's just gonna it's a basically I've just noticed that I have repetitive things that tend to come up in the podcast, so I'm just breaking those down into essays and then
fucking great.
Writing that.
And the beauty of the book is that you can. It's the opposite of that experience you have when you come home from a party and you think, oh fuck, did I really say that? Or I should have said, you know. It's like, now you can do it. You can just go back and make it fucking perfect.
Yes.
You know,
that's
great.
Yeah, that's I think that's a cool thing. And you know, I don't know. I also just like hanging out with you and hanging out with Danielle and hanging out with the people I've met on the podcast. I feel like I have have gathered some information that's worth sharing with people that I've mostly gotten from other people or things that I've
Yeah, here's the humility. Here comes the fake. You know, it occurs to me that all humility is false.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just stating the facts, right? But if it's humility, if it's got that, I'm just not... It's intrinsically false because the person saying it's aware of the fact that they're
not really true.
I don't feel like
not you.
I know. No, as part of the stupid analysis of the mind analyzes what you're calling humility. But my experience with all of this shit has been that whatever I'm saying that people like, that I don't feel part of that thing. I feel like if you get in the moment and let the thing come out of you, great. But to think that you're the thing, that's a huge fucking mistake.
Right. Which is cheap ass radio doesn't make the Mozart. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
That's it. Yeah. That's it, man. And I don't know if that's humility or just kind of an honest appraisal.
It is. It's enlightenment is what it is. You're not humble, you're enlightened.
Okay. Great. Get those swastikas on your foreheads, bitches. Carve that shit in. Well, that's one thing I respect about Manson is his.
That's always the great beginning of when you want to start a good sentence. You start with, "That's what I really respect about Manson."
And Hitler had some good ideas.
Right. It's like, let's see how the sentence continues.
I respect a lot of things about Manson.
Me too.
Go ahead. Okay, you first.
I meant it. He's one thing that I really respect about him is his extreme confidence and his. Also, he seemed to be like he would have been a great actor if he'd gone for it. Like, he's so good at like being in the moment and transforming into like. One thing his followers said about him, which I don't doubt at all, is that he would transform into whatever the thing you are afraid of or whatever the thing you love the most. He was able to like see he was able to reflect shit back at you in a really precise way that was really like somehow illuminating. And I think that is a skill people can get where they can, like you see it in
neurolinguistic programming
and people who are really like people who are really good at seducing other people.
Like in the game and stuff?
Yeah, part of seduction is you begin to reflect back upon a person whatever is wonderful about them, and then they see what's wonderful about them in you. Right. And the difference between an asshole and a guru is that an asshole will let that person believe that the thing that they're seeing is inside the asshole and not in the person, and a guru is like, no, you're just seeing what's great about you inside of you. It's not me at all.
Right.
It's always pointing the person back to the fact that the projection. But Manson, I think, was very good at like reflecting that shit and then claiming it as his own, which is what made him, landed him in jail.
But just to play devil's advocate, I mean, that's a job that I guess requires some, since you just defended Manson, I think I need to be able to up it a notch. No, but I mean, in terms of what you're saying about the... it's not me at all, kind of giving credit somewhere else, which is a healthy thing to do. You hear a lot of people, artists, music, you name it, people who are, it's something that goes through me as opposed to being me doing. But at the same time, and that's cool in terms of keeping the ego down and also being real, because there's something about the truly amazing stuff that does feel greater than yourself, that does feel like it's going through you, but it's not that you sat down one day and planned it at your coffee table. But at the same time, it is through you. You know what I mean? There is an element that whatever amazing, weird spark is coming through you at the moment is there's your touch.
Yes.
And that's as important as the spark, because the spark by itself doesn't live just without a body. It's going through you, and your filter is important. So while you're not saying, I'm the best thing in the universe, can you believe how fucking smart I am, all of that kind of stuff, you're not saying either, I have nothing to do with it, because, it did come from your fucking lips. You do have something to do with it.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man, but if I had an agenda, if I was going to announce that I had some kind of agenda, my agenda would be trying to get more people to realize that they could be a conduit for this thing, and because that's gonna, why? Because that creates a fucking time machine, in the sense that if you can like get enough people to like get to stop worshiping other people and start recognizing that, oh no, we've all like found whatever this mysterious stream of consciousness that is in the zeitgeist right now, we're all just vomiting out in our own way. If more people just realize, oh, I can actually do that too. That's the end result of all this shit anyway, isn't it? It's that whoever's listening to this and has gotten into some kind of idolatrous relationship with Chris Ryan or Bolelli or me and has like started thinking, oh, these guys really are saying shit that I can't say. It's like, no.
You're totally right.
No! It's the fucking, it's like that. There's a goddamn, this is Tesla. When Tesla started saying that there's some energy field around that anyone can have access to and we don't have to meter it out and shit. That's the idea, man. It's like there's an energy field that we can all plug into, and that thing is going to be perfect for whatever your speaker set happens to be based on your neurology, and that thing's going to vomit out something that's going to be really interesting and wonderful, and eventually someone's going to vomit out a time machine.
And they'll get a knock on the door from the FBI.
Yes.
And they'll be taken to the same re-education camp Duncan
Yes.
spent a week at.
Oh, it's fun.
You reminded me of that scene in the Monty Python thing about Life of Brian. You remember? Like they're following around the wrong guy the whole time because they mixed up the babies at birth.
Yeah.
And at one point he like opens, I think he just had sex with somebody, and he opens the window and there are all these people like, oh, cheering, and he just freaks out. And then he says, leave me alone. You're following the wrong kid. I'm nothing special. You're all
Exactly.
individuals. You're all unique.
Yeah.
And they all say, we're all individuals. We're all unique. And then one guy goes, I'm not. Brilliant.
Yeah, that was fucking
the
brilliant.
one dude saying, I'm not. That was so brilliant. Fucking hell, man. I know what you mean. There's like an anti, you're like shooting yourself in the foot when your message that you're trying to get out to a lot of people is don't pay attention to people who have a message they're trying to get out to a lot of people.
Or
in a way,
just
you got your own message.
finger pointing at the moon. We've just found this thing that we love to sing about in our own way, and just because it's fun to articulate it. In the same way when you first discovered LSD and your friends had, and you're like, you have got to try this experience. It's incredible. In the same way when you start realizing, like, oh shit, there's this, for whatever reason, we're entering into an era where technology is leveling the playing field for every single person to get their ideas out instantaneously at a global level. And since this has never happened before in human history, this is the poison of dictators, the acid burning away at the very foundations of everything that's created a moralistic, repressive, and horrific system. So then it's put into seats of power all these old crusty shit fucks who've tricked everybody into thinking that they are somehow experts in morality and ethics.
Is he talking about us, Danielle?
Yeah.
Old crusty shit fucks?
You're not a crusty shit fuck. I'm talking about...
Not that he said, you're not a crusty shit. Yes.
I'm talking about these sons of goddamn bitches who turn the fucking water hoses on the like when you see what's going on in Turkey right now.
Oh, yeah.
And you see these people who are in the streets right now getting sprayed with water hoses and sucking back tear gas. The youth, the young. And who's the one ordering the fucking water hoses? Inevitably, it's some withered old, crusty, leathery, angry piece of shit. One guy who's like ordering all this violence to happen. And I think whatever this stuff is and what's represented by Anonymous and freedom of information that comes from podcasts is the moment you start creating an identity where you're a leader is the moment you are actually stepping backwards instead of moving forwards into this technologically enhanced equanimous new age. Sorry about that rant.
Yeah, it's good. No, I'm going to be writing about that in Civilized to Death, writing about the difference between hunter-gatherer politics and our politics, right? And it all centers on this concept of leadership. A leader in hunter-gatherer societies is somebody that other people like to listen to. So you become a leader because lots of people respect you. The one thing you can do to disqualify yourself immediately from a position of leadership is show any sign at all that you want to be a leader.
Yes.
Because that's considered pathetic.
Yes.
Right.
And ridiculous and very dangerous. You don't want someone like that making any sorts of decisions because they'll lead you into conflict and problems.
Yes.
So I think we should have a system of politics in this country where people get nominated, like they get nominated for a Nobel Prize or whatever, and then they're elected and they have to do it.
Like
they don't
getting
want
drafted.
to do it. Yeah, like you know, Einstein. Israel tried to get Einstein to be their first president, and much to his credit, he said, "Hell no."
But who got to do the nominating?
Yeah, it would maybe by internet. You know,
Upvotes. Reddit style upvotes.
Reddit style upvotes. That's a great idea. Yeah, you know, and then it's like, you know, okay, you can absolutely refuse. You don't have to do it, but it's seen as your sort of like your responsibility to your country. Your country's called on you. We'd really like you to lead us for 6 years or whatever it is. Yeah, please do it. And you can refuse, but we'd really like it. I think we'd have a much better system of leadership.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, it for sure. And I think that, you know, over time that's going to happen. And the more information that gets out there, the more these old crusty warmongering monsters slowly disintegrate, and It's just a matter of time, for sure. It's a matter of time.
I have a question, though, for Chris, because the whole hunting and gathering model obviously is like the healthiest model possible. The whole idea of rule by consensus, which is everyone in the tribe agree to the course of action, is not a majority rule, anything like that. It's amazing. It only works in a face-to-face community where you have 40 people who see each other, who know each other since they were born, and people emerge as leaders naturally just because you said something smart so many times before. When there's a decision to be made, everybody turns to see what you have to say. Right. If you say something they don't like, they don't have to listen. That's beautiful. At the same time is, how do you envision things in a large-scale society?
Well, that's the thing. I don't really.
Right.
I think what the argument we make in Sex at Dawn, and I'll be fleshing out more in the next book, is that, human nature expresses itself in so many different ways depending on the context, right? So asking about human nature is like asking what's the natural state of H2O. Yeah. Depends on pressure, altitude, temperature. So in a hunter-gatherer context, our nature plays out in that way, very egalitarian. But when we have more than 150 people to keep track of, which is called Dunbar's number, and it appears to be the maximum that our brain size can keep track of, once you get beyond 150, then other people become statistics. Like Stalin said, 1 murder is a tragedy, 1,000 is a statistic, right? I think that's the point he was making. Like, 10,000 people get killed, what is that? It's a number, If your brother, well, then that matters. Course. So it's... So I don't really see it playing out in large-scale society, although I think there are steps we could take to institutionalize the same sorts of mechanisms, which Duncan just came up with there with the Reddit upvotes, that sort of a technologically mediated way of doing that. And we can also try to organize our lives in ways that we're more plugged into small communities of people that we see face to face. Right. As opposed to really large communities of people we never see at all.
That's brilliant.
Of course. No, that makes so at the same you are global in the sense that through internet and other medium you can reach all over the globe. You have news from all over the globe. But at the same time, you're very localized because there's your local, your face-to-face tribe, your group of friends that you
know
live.
Your neighbors, babysit for your neighbors, like share food, share cars, share washing machines. What that kind of communal sharing life, I think, is very healthy for us.
It's essential. I mean, it's in our DNA to every step of the way. There's this sense of community. That's why people...
To have people around you that you trust.
Yeah, that's why people today is like one of the number one reason why you hear people being horrendously depressed in places like the States is loneliness, which is funny because you're living in the middle of 7 gazillion people all around. And then there's this sense of alienation because there's too many people, and it's like the speed at which things move is so fast that you don't really have the time to kind of get to know somebody, get a little deeper, build a little history. It's either, I mean, I remember when I first moved to US, I thought this was the friendliest place ever, because I was like, within 3 seconds, I would get people give me their phone number and let's keep it. I'm like, wow, this is all so fast and so. And then I realized that no, it wasn't my glorious biceps that were making men and women give me their number in 1 second and stuff. No, it was, there's no second chance. So either you're going to hit it off as friends or as lovers, whatever that may be, in that minute, or a week from now, I've moved on to something else. I probably moved across the country, something else. Like the speed at which things happen and the geography is so much more intense that, there's no second chance.
I completely agree with that, and I saw that going the other way, moving to Spain, where relationships grow much more slowly, and it's harder to get it. But what I recognize there is that in Spain, people already have all their friends. There's no space. There's no opening to be filled.
Really? There's not like you're the friend of somebody and you hang out there enough times and you're added to the...
But most of the people I know, they hang out with people they've been hanging out with since they were kids. Right. And their families know each other, and there's intermarriage, and there's all this... it's a small community, so they're very friendly, but they just don't have time to and they don't generally have parties in their houses either.
Well, this is why I think this is where churches, there's something, even though churches are all fucked up, many of them actually, many of them aren't, but...
Well, like Unitarian churches, they've got all the good shit without the propaganda.
This is where, you get clusters of people who have formed around some game that they call a religion, and they're all playing this game, which is some form of meditation or whatever the ceremony is, and I think that's how you do it. Because then people will email me from time to time and express what you guys are talking about, this kind of loneliness and this sense of like, I don't have these conversations where I'm at. And I just immediately will Google search where they say they're from and then meditation center, or Google search where they say they're from and Buddhism.
Yeah.
And inevitably, like, something will pop up, some Zen center, some place, something, and then I say, well, go to that.
But you know,
and if it's a cult, don't shave your head. Just
Don't give away all your shit.
Yeah, because sometimes the tricky thing is that you may, on paper, it looks like the same thing. Oh, it's the Buddhist center, it's the meditation place, it's what they talk about on the podcast. It's the same thing, right? You go there, and the words are the same. You know, the speech is the same. The vibe is nothing like it. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, you're saying all the right stuff, but we're not in the same...
Then you split.
Yeah, right.
But you've gone into this kind of like, instead of, you know, what ends up happening is people want to have an excuse to be little Boo Radleys, and they want to be all reclusive, and there's nobody around in this town who can share these philosophical thoughts with me. It's like, fuck you. Guaranteed there is, and guaranteed it's been around for a long time. You just have to start searching, and the moment you start searching, somehow that momentum, in the same way, like the moment you start trying to write, you might not catch any fish in the net the first few days, but suddenly something will start forming, and then it's the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but okay. On the other hand, there are towns. I've lived in town. I lived in a town called Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. I wouldn't want to go around Beaver Falls looking for.
Then you start a group.
Yeah.
Then you fucking start a goddamn group. I mean, you start a book club. The thing about it is, this is one of the things like. Ram Dass says it in different ways, which I really like, which is if you want to experience love, then start loving,
right?
And then it'll come to you,
right?
What if it doesn't?
It does.
Then just hold on,
man. It does. It really does. I mean, what if it doesn't? Well, if it doesn't, then you know what? You're fucked, I guess. But
or it did, and you just aren't recognizing it.
Sure.
You know,
It's still this whole thing of like, I need, and I'm a victim, I can't find this or that. It's like, no. If you go and if you can't find a fucking meditation group, Craigslist.
You know what phrase kills me?
What?
My needs aren't being met.
Yeah.
I just want to start. Yeah. I really hate that phrase.
I do too.
Not that I hear it that often.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, where the hell did you hear that? That's just.
I overheard it in a cafe.
No, I know what you mean when somebody needs something. I don't. And these are the same people.
Well, there's the implicit assumption that your needs deserve to be met.
Yeah.
You know, and it's also in the passive voice, which is always kind of sneaky.
Yeah.
You know, like, you aren't meeting my needs. Well, it still sounds fucked up, but at least it's a little more direct.
Yeah. No, but it's bad if you're hearing it in any context. If you're hearing it at 2 a.m. in your own bed, that would be really bad. No, my needs are not being met.
And you don't recognize the voice.
Even if you do that.
Who's there? I live alone.
That's so scary. Some fucking weirdo under your bed.
Dexter.
I've been living under your bed for the last 2 weeks, and my needs are not being met. You never want the guy who kidnapped you and put you in his basement to say, my needs aren't being met.
You want to meet his needs. Yeah. Make sure they're being met. And well met. Hell met. Have you guys seen Maron's show?
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it? Oh, Mark Maron.
Is it good?
I think it's really good.
People are saying it's really good.
I think it's really good. It's you know, it's kind of like the Monty Python thing, because what I'm going to say is that I think it's a lot like Louis' C.K.'s show, that is unique. And they're both unique, but they're kind of unique in the same way.
Right.
You know? I'm not.
Well, they're both like, aren't they both kind of like these sort of neurotic existentialists going through life, upsetting people with their honesty?
And it's very much about their real life. So it's about Maron doing his podcast. So it's the first TV show about a podcast, which is why I mention it.
Right. Yeah.
I kind of got the image of a horse pulling a car down the road when I thought of a TV show about a podcast. You know, old media, new media. Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of different shows bubbling up with podcasts. There's some component.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like Nerdist show. I just saw that, and they cut to his podcast studio,
right.
and then like what else did I see that? Rogan show that's coming out is going to have a podcast component. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's cool, man. It's like it is a brand new thing. It's an interesting thing, but one worrisome thing about it, and I haven't seen Maron show. I think Maron show is scripted anyway, but like I think it's that one worrisome thing about the form is that it's very. What's great about this is like we can say anything and we don't have time constraints.
Right.
And with TV, if you were to like throw this in front of a network executive and be like, "Can we just put this up?"
It's 59
They call the cops.
minutes.
They call the cops. They just get the fuck out of here, you psychopath! You can't put this up.
They'd say, "Do you know who I am?"
Yeah, isn't that amazing though? Isn't that amazing? You couldn't put this conversation.
But you could on YouTube.
You could put it on YouTube, but you couldn't put it on TV. Right. TV, which is just this dispenser of the absolutely the worst shit 9 times out of 10. They wouldn't allow good conversations, or really TV. The reason TV sucks is not because the people who are trying to make TV suck. It's because the people who are trying to make TV have had to bow down to a form of really weird censorship.
No.
It's an institutionalized censorship that nobody even blinks about. When people say, "Well, we've got to make sure this can go through standards and practices."
Yeah.
What is that? What? Standards and practices? What the fuck are you talking about? You mean the state?
Have you seen the film? This film is not yet rated.
No.
Oh, you should check that out. It's a documentary about the board that rates films, and it turns out there's like nobody even really knows who they are. They're not. They're like appointed by mysterious figures. It's like really clandestine and bizarre.
Yeah.
It's Kirby Dick is the director.
Well, that's where you can start. There's different places where you can start brushing the scales of the dragon.
Yeah.
And one of the places you can brush the scales of the dragon is when you start exploring. Who the fuck is saying that there's the fact that there's a fine for a nipple slip?
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's insane.
That's insane. But I mean, that's the beauty of American society. On one end, you go, a few miles from here, San Fernando Valley, world capital of porn. But at the same time, if a woman goes topless on a beach because it's a hot day, she gets arrested for indecent exposure.
Yeah.
So there's this weird
breastfeeding.
Exactly. There's this weird schizophrenic thing between the scandal over Janet Jackson boob popping out for a quarter of a second.
So you think that's the beautiful thing about this country?
No, where did you get that?
Didn't you just say that?
I thought you said
beautiful,
that.
Ironic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful as in, like, are you fucking kidding me? Not beautiful as in, oh, how beautiful.
Yeah, that's a nice, fun little fucking coil of the serpent. And then there's a lot of other coils of the fucking
Coil of the serpent.
Yeah, coil of the serpent.
Dude, you are going to write it. I'm going to buy your fucking book. I'll buy it on pre-sale. You've got such a way with words.
Yeah, the coils of the serpent. It's a fucking... It is. When you consider that, what you just said, because, so many Americans are like, if you ever doubt how wonderful this country is, go and look at Iran, the way they make their women.
Or France. You want to turn this country into France? You mean France where everyone lives better than you right now?
Everyone's fucking happy. The food's delicious. The girls are hot and right around on mopeds and ponytails.
And poor people live well in France. Because they got fucking universal health care and, the state gives them money to take care of their kids.
I bet in France, I don't know the rules, but I'm not sure, but I imagine if a woman takes her shirt off in France, she might get taken to the dungeon.
My dungeon.
Mine too.
Invited to the dungeon.
Here's the thing, man. So many women right now are like up in arms over women's rights, which I respect. Yeah. It's like, you want to really fight this shit? You gotta make it so you can take your shirt off without getting arrested.
No, of course.
Like, you need to attack that law. Like, that is an insane, satanic, fucked up law that women can't take. Meanwhile, so the end result is they start wearing, like, if you go to the beach now, when I was in Hawaii, Jesus fucking Christ, man, they're like wearing belts. It's like these weird string belts where the women they're not wearing clothes on the beach anyway. You know what I mean? It's like a weird string belt that goes up their ass so you can't see anything except their ass, and then so it's like, the fact that that's okay, which is a million times more erotic and sexy than just being naked. The fact that somehow it's weird how that one little shred of clothes makes it sexy, but just being naked makes it normal.
Yeah.
But like the fact that that's okay, but they took their clothes off, there would be a fucking fat, freakish cop dragging this girl into the back of his car, which is even more filthy and sexual.
Of course,
Some
man.
cop being like, "Come on, naked lady, I'm gonna take you downtown, strip search you, hose you down, reach into your asshole, see if you got any pills in there, hippie."
And I mean, even on TV is weird because it's like we're so much more comfortable with extreme gore and violence than we are with the human body. It just...
Yeah, I was in... Now, here's where that coil of the serpent, really comes together. Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
All right? The one and only time I've ever been to Vegas was when I had just finished my PhD dissertation on human sexual behavior in prehistory. And, of course, everybody writing a PhD, it's even worse than writing a book because... You're doing all this work, and like 5 people are going to read it, ever.
Right.
And that's it. And they're going to be reading it looking to give you shit. Right? So you're doing all this work, and everyone dreams that someone's going to read this, some effect is going to come from this. So I turn it in, it passes, great. A couple months later, I get an email saying, Dr. So-and-so passed along your dissertation to me, and I've shared it with some other people, and we find it very interesting. We'd like to invite you to a conference to present your research.
That's great.
Fucking yeah, man. All expenses paid. Vegas.
Nice.
In August.
Nice.
Swingers convention. The biggest swingers convention in the world. 3,000 couples in one hotel.
Jesus.
Plus walk-ons. It was insane.
That's great.
Man. Yeah, it was a really interesting experience. But anyway, in this hotel in Vegas, they're like all these orgies going on in different rooms, and everybody knows what room, and there are different rules, like there's the S&M orgy, and there are orgies where you can just go and stand around, and then there are what they call the play to stay, where you have to be involved in sex or you can't stay there, and all this stuff going on. And yet, if you walk in the public areas at all, you have to be fully clothed.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Even in the convention room where they had this big costume party where I remember, like, women were leading men on leashes with nipple clamps and wearing tails and all this bizarre shit, right?
Duncan's typical Tuesday night, in other words.
Tuesday night in Duncan's.
Right.
But the women couldn't show their nipples, so they're wearing this bizarre stuff, and they had to have these little pasty things. It's ridiculous.
It's amazing. There was, a few years ago, there was this free parenting magazine called Baby Talk that had on the cover a picture of an infant nursing. Free parenting, it's like new parents don't know what to do. There's the magazine, it's free at the grocery store, that kind of stuff. And some 30,000 angry letters were written immediately because it was obscene. There was a boob on the cover. And it's like, it's a baby eating. If you find that sexual, you're fucking weird in a lot of ways. Really? That's the first thought, is how obscene that is? A baby eating? What the fuck is wrong with you?
My ex-girlfriend had amazing breasts. I mean, I've been to the top of Breast Mountain.
It didn't happen.
I'll show you.
I'm sure he has pics.
But anyway, she's a beautiful girl. And one of the first times I was with her on the beach with my friend Martin, who's this like unabashedly horny Dutch guy, a very good friend of mine. And we're on the beach, and she was 19. She was really young. Martin and I were like late 20s. And she's wearing this bikini. And Martin said to her, Peggy, why don't you take off your bikini top? It's a topless beach. And she said, English is her second language. She said, oh, no, that would be too spectacular.
That probably would be, but...
What she meant was it'd be a spectacle.
Yeah, of course.
That would be too spectacular.
Yeah, it is spectacular. I mean, that's the whole thing. It is fucking spectacular, and it's spectacular in a great way. And it's awful that the goddamn thing has been turned into something where I've got to feel guilty about thinking it's beautiful, or I've got to feel weird about looking at it because I've been taught and conditioned this shit way.
Sure.
But it's like again. So it's you start sort of. You start, one of the funny things about religion is they always have this ephemeral thing that people believe in that you can't really find, quite often. And if you talk to the believers about the thing too much, they always get mad because they're frustrated because they know that they can't show it, and then they get weird. In the same way, it's kind of like in the United States, it's the same thing with freedom, where you're like, okay, well, I want to know where the freedom is here. Like, can you really tell me where the freedom is? Because pretty much everything I do that seems to be free can get me arrested. So
you're free to start business more easily than in most other countries.
So there's freedom.
That's what they're talking about.
Which is great. You can start a fucking business, but you can't smoke weed on the street. You can't. If you carry a beer bottle out of a bar, you can get arrested.
Right, unless it's in a paper bag.
Makes
at
a lot
least
of
in
sense.
New York.
Yeah, which is
when I first moved to New York, I was sitting in Washington Square Park listening to this guy play guitar, and I had a can of Foster's beer. And I just moved to New York that week, right? And I didn't understand it had to be in a bag. I saw people with bags, but I thought, whatever, you know. And I'm drinking the beer, and there are all these dudes smoking, all these Rasta guys, you know, getting high and everything. And this cop car comes around, and they come over, and they're like, they fucking arrested me. I'm like, really?
There you go.
I'm getting arrested? Are you kidding?
Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm talking about, man. And or what's one of the nicest things? One of the nicest things is to go to a park. Right? You go to a park with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
You take a bottle of wine.
Oh, we're going back to humping in the field.
Nice.
This is circling around here.
Full circle. You go to a park with your girlfriend. You pull out a bottle of wine. You have a nice glass of wine in the park, and it's fun. But in the United States, if you go to a park and pull out wine, you can get arrested.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you should come. You guys should come to Canada. I'll tell you, Vancouver. It's so cool. I mentioned this in the intro to the last podcast. There's a beach Cassie and I like to go to watch sunset, smoke a joint. You can smoke a joint. Nobody gives a shit, right? And they've got all these beaches, beautiful beaches, and then there's one dog beach. So in the States, there are all these rules. You know, no dogs allowed, and no dogs. In Canada, it's like, hey, don't take your dog here, but there's a beach for you and your dogs. And it's a really nice beach, and all the dogs go there. And it's like such a accommodating way to run a society. The American society is conflict-driven.
Yes.
And I think a lot of it, and it's getting worse because a lot of people who are in law enforcement were in the military. So they were trained, you get out of the military, and there's no fucking jobs, right? And so the only job that your training is going to lead you into is police work. So you get these people who've been educated with a very us versus them mentality in Afghanistan or Iraq. And then they bring that mentality back here. And it really poisons. Casilda hates it here. She feels like she's constantly this far from going to jail.
She is.
Yeah. Well, she's brown and Muslim, and
Yeah, she's close to getting on the no-fly list, and that's another fucking thing that happens. So what's happening is no different than what's always been happening. It's this inevitable conflict, and it's not just in the United States. It is in Iran, and it is in any place that there's religious fundamentalists who have squirmed their way into writing legislation, you will find some of the most insane fucking laws ever because they're using a non-existent moral being to determine how people are supposed to live instead of using nature as a model. Right. And that's always going to get you into trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, although the thing about the United States, to lend some balance to it, you said, what are our freedoms? Well, one of the freedoms we have is publish anything you want, say anything you want, like we are now. But what's tragic about the United States is that, and maybe I'm naive on some level, but I really do believe that this country was the freest place on the planet. Well, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, before Reagan, you mean
not if you were gay
after
or
World
black.
War? No, right. But I mean legally, in terms of the Constitution and the laws that were at least being pretended to be followed. They were on the books. Now those laws are coming, like torture, right? Or the conventions at the end of World War II. I forget what it was called, where they, the war.
I got to tell you, man, I got to disagree with you there. I don't think the United States has ever been a place where there's been much freedom. We were founded on slavery. There's been a place where there's been freedom for a small small demographic, for sure. But
look what's going on with this AP case now, right? Where there's all this uproar because the White House got into the emails and the phone records of some AP reporters. That's a big deal. Watergate was a big deal.
Yes.
Most places on the planet, the government fucking with the press isn't a big deal. Right. That happens all the time.
No. This is
Italy, Berlusconi, Spain has no free press.
So here I am. I'm at a slumber party with my 3 friends, and we're all getting molested by our uncle. So one of my friends is like, you are so fucking lucky. Your uncle only fingers your asshole. At night, my uncle mouth fucks me and makes me open my eyes while he jizzes in my eyes.
That burns.
What are you complaining about? Your uncle just fingers your... I'd give anything if I had an uncle that just fingered my asshole. I think it's like that fucking goddamn thing where it's like, well, at least that thing. I don't like that thing. I think really... It all goes back to just logical truth, which is that we should be allowed to consume any intoxicant that we want to consume. If we break laws that have already been formed while under the influence of an intoxicant or not, we should have penalties for that fucking thing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
There's just some basic human freedoms that we don't have in maybe any society right now.
Right.
And it's the job of free thinkers to, as much as possible, voice dissent in the hopes that somebody who's more organized and less stoned and more focused will cause change that I can enjoy.
I was having
And we'll start by women taking off their shirts.
yes.
It's fun. Drugs legal and women to walk around without shirts
You
on.
know, you calling women to public rebellion is kind of like Charles Manson. Because, the whole thing about Manson was that he thought that he was the trigger that was going to spark the black uprising in the United States. Did it occur to the dude that he's white? I don't know. Or, the racism inherent in thinking, the Beatles are talking to me. And they're going to tell me when to send the signal to the black people so that the uprising will take place. That's a funny situation.
It's a funny situation to think that somebody heard that and was like, well, that makes sense. Where do I sign up?
Right.
All women, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, I knew a dude who lived with the Mansons. I've got this whole Manson story, which I won't tell now because it's a long, involved story, but I'm going to tell it on a podcast sometime. I've got a weird connection to the Mansons.
There's a great YouTube documentary if you Google search Manson, it was made in, I think it came out in 1973, and it's the best Manson documentary I've seen because it's got all this footage of the family hanging out on Spawn Ranch that I don't think is anywhere else with them. They were fucking so stupid. They were like juggling babies. Because Manson's thing was like, overcome your fear and overcome all forms of fear. So if you went there and you were a guy and you had any kind of fear of being gay, you would be fucking guys until you realized that didn't matter. And then if you had a baby to help get rid of the baby's fear, it just shows one of these idiot hippies just kind of like basically swinging an infant like a lasso, and the idea is they're trying to expunge the fear from the baby. But
I'm sure that worked really well.
Along with flying brain matter straight out of the ears, and
it's not working, Charles.
swing harder.
Just try to imagine the Mansons in a grocery store. Kid starts crying give it. I'll help you. Hey.
It's an incredible thing, but the Manson family I think is really awesome. And the thing that Manson said when he was on trial was, he did make the really astute point that it's like, you guys are mad at me because my followers went and killed some people.
Yeah.
Look at Nixon.
Right.
How many of his
Cambodia.
followers are fucking killing people right now? How many of Obama's followers at this very moment or control some weird dudes in CIA trailers probably at this very moment are flying a Predator drone and shooting missiles into villages?
And you know where they're based?
I have no idea.
Just north of Las Vegas. That's where the Trump pilots are.
Wow.
There's a base just out of Las Vegas. So those people live in suburban Vegas. They're out there shooting, blowing shit up. They get in their cars. They pick up the kids on the way home at school. Yeah, I've read interviews with these guys.
And they go and blow up people.
Yeah, and that's what they do. And so it's a really interesting thing in a PTSD, perspective, because they're not away at war and then come home from war. Those guys go and come from some sort of abstract war every day. It's a very strange thing.
Well, fuck them, and it's really important to.
But not yet. Wait till Daniele and I leave. Drone strike on Duncan's house.
Yeah, there's just some. Man, if I'm hanging out with a kid and the kid is somehow started blowing up animals with a remote controlled drone, even if it's rats and there's a rat infestation, I'm going to say to the kid, I bet we can figure out a better way to deal with this than you using a remote controlled drone to blow up things. And I know that's oversimplifying it. This is what they say. The murderers inevitably will say, you are oversimplifying things. We must use these remote-controlled flying death robots to rain fire on children. Don't you see? No. It's an obvious thing. Women, no shirts, drugs legal, stop flying death machines. Right. And the world starts getting better right away. And I don't know why I'm even getting so shrill about this shit.
No, but that's what's
it
funny
fucking
about,
matters.
Yeah, because when people go off about, and everybody in every other country go off about freedom forever, it's all about, from, commercials to, it sounds like people really love freedom. And then you say, well, so I take it you mean you're clearly in favor of legal prostitution, consenting adults, wanting to, so you're in favor of euthanasia, you're in favor of, free drugs, all that kind of stuff, right? It's like, no, wait, that's not what I meant. And it's like, well, I heard freedom. Freedom means whatever you do, as long as you don't step on somebody else's freedom. That's what freedom means. So what exactly are you saying when you're saying that you are for freedom?
Well, and that's playing out on geopolitical level with this whole Arab Spring, like in Egypt, they rise up, they want freedom, and then they elect the Muslim Brotherhood into office. Oh, okay, well, that's interesting. So with your freedom, you're choosing something that's actually sort of opposed to freedom.
Yeah. If you choose it for yourself, who cares? That's your thing.
It's your freedom.
It's like you have found a way, good for you. But when you start choosing for everybody else, that's where it becomes the problem. Because it's like, I have no problem that you think that euthanasia is terrible. Hey, maybe you have a point. You don't do it.
That's funny. I was just thinking of that while you were talking. Euthanasia. Yeah, that's a huge example. If you don't have the right to end your own life, what right do you have?
I mean, literally, it's like, does it get any deeper
you don't
than
own
that?
Your body? Then what do you own?
Here's a funny thing. If you have a form of cancer that's going to kill you over the course of 5 months in the most painful way ever, you have to let the cancer kill you in the most painful way. If you're just super depressed and kind of crazy, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to give myself a very painful form of cancer that's going to kill me in 5 months as a form of suicide, that's illegal. You can't do that. You have to, if the decision has been made to end it, then it's illegal. If there's no decision made, then it's kind of like, if cancer is a fire. It's a biochemical fire that burns you from the inside. It burns you alive from the inside. So it's like someone's on fire inside their fucking body, and there's no way to put it out with the technology that we have right now.
Yeah.
So you're fucking saying that instead of letting this person die in a quick, easy, painless way, you're going to let them burn to death?
Yeah.
You fuck.
Yeah.
You sadomasochistic.
And call it a reverence for life.
Oh, yes, we love life.
Yeah.
And
that example you use is even more horrendous because there are laws in this country against doctors using too much opiates, right?
Yeah.
So doctors are very nervous about prescribing too much because if they prescribe above a certain level, they start getting investigated by the FDA. So many doctors underprescribe pain medications for people who are terminal, with the justification being that they don't want them to get addicted.
Yep.
It's terrifying.
They're worried about you getting addicted and you're going to be dead in 3 months. Who gives a fuck?
But truth is, man,
unbelievable.
The truth is there is an underground out there. There's an underground that is very compassionate, and if you're dying, and if you have any kind of if you have something like that, then there are people out there that are operating under the radar.
A lot of them are doctors.
Yeah.
I think Kevorkian is going to go down as one of those people who most of us have already forgotten about, but in 100 years, everyone will know who he was.
Of course.
He's a hero.
I think so.
Totally.
And Bradley Manning. I think there are a lot of people who are sort of out on the edge of the radar right now, but over time they're going to be revealed.
They're not. I mean, they're on the edge of the radar if you watch Anderson Cooper. They're not on the edge of the radar if you just flipped out RT News or Al Jazeera or any kind of authentic
story.
Yeah, when you see those things are because if you go to the mainstream news right now,
but those things are on the edge of the radar. That's the problem.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They are because they're outside the paradigm, and they're it's really sad. Assange, Manning, all these people are actually patriots. They are the beloved Thomas Jefferson that so many of these Tea Party people are yapping about.
Right.
There are Thomas Jefferson. There are people who could lead us into an actual time of human where humans stop blowing people up and start working on making fucking spaceships, interstellar travel, and seeing if we can control the flow of time, and using our technology to develop super advanced sex androids to
take care of Danielle.
To take care of Bolelli. All these great fucking things that we're just so close to right now, or that we based on the what technology is giving us, emerging from the technological field. You have these martyrs, these technology. What all these people have in common is technology. Mm-hmm. You know, they're using this advanced communication mechanism to transmit these stories of oppression to the world, and they're getting thrown in dungeons for it.
Yeah. Jeremy Scahill, do you ever read him? Writes for The Nation.
No.
He's just got a new book out, or a new book and a film, a documentary called The Secret War. It's about the drone campaigns in Yemen and Afghanistan. He's a really ballsy dude. Like, he goes in and meets the families of the people who've been blown up and finds out the backstory, and he's like digging. His first book was about Blackwater.
Wow.
It was a bestseller. Big.
I've got to read that.
Oh, yeah, Jeremy Scahill.
Just to fuck with you guys, because
please,
it's always good. Of course, I mean, here I'm sure we agree. You don't blow up babies. Not polite to do. It
is rude.
It's very, very
especially
rude.
at a party.
Yeah, totally rude. So,
but you can swing them around a little.
Right?
Swing the fear out of them.
Swing that baby round and round. Put it down.
So let's say, because I mean, the thing that Jesus Christ,
you guys don't square dance
all the time. I was just waiting for you to start, but yeah.
Did you say put it in the toilet and flush it down?
And that was like, all right, here's the thing, man. I square danced in like 4th grade when I lived in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. It was a gym class where we would square dance. And yeah, there was like the do-si-do, like swing your partner round and round, and then it said something, and then rhymed with down. And all the kids in 4th grade said, put her in the toilet, flush her down, and that's what stuck in my fucking mind. But that's why I'm not a comedian. I remember the first 10 jokes I ever heard, and they were all in 3rd grade, and I can't remember a joke if you told me 5 minutes ago.
What were you saying?
Anyway, go ahead, Danielle.
Fucking with you guys. The thing you hear all the time about people on the left, by now even on the right, about the opposition to, war on terror taken too far, that fucking drones killing a bunch of TV civilians, all this and that and the other, all true. What do you guys see as alternatives to that? Because that's one of the things that all the time you hear is why it's wrong, and I get it, I agree. What's right instead? What's the good alternative?
See, I get this all the time. Like, I tweet something about, another fucked up thing about America, and I'll get people right back and say, well, compared to where? Spain, where there's 25% unemployment?
Yeah.
Compared to the absence of that.
Yeah.
Compared to something that doesn't exist.
Yes.
Right. Because if you say it's illegitimate to compare it to something that doesn't exist and only compare it to things that do exist, then there's no possibility of progress. Progress is by definition moving into a state that didn't exist.
In general, I agree completely with you, because you're talking about an ideal is like...
So
why
what are we talking about? Islam and all that?
Something like that. In which,
okay, you go in and instead of blowing people up, including a lot of innocent people, you say what Obama tried to say, which is, yeah, there's a long history where the United States has fucked with you people. We've supported dictators. We've supported the torture state that you and your father and your grandfather all lived under. We've exploited your resources. That's true.
Right.
And let's start again. Let's start new, which Obama could have done, right? But of course they won't let him. And say, let us... Instead of sending in $100 million worth of bombs, why don't we put in $30 million worth of schools and health?
Yeah, that's it, man.
But Peace Corps. That's
the fucking war.
It costs so much less, and you're acknowledging people's grievances. They do have grievances. Everybody on this planet has a reason to be pissed off at the United States if they want to be.
Yeah.
Right. And now, to take your point, I mean, there is a certain, you're a big target if you're the biggest, strongest country in the world. But enough with the fucking arms. Enough. There's a thing I read recently. It takes the price of one F-35 or whatever the new one is and says, here are some things you could do with the price of one F-35 that they wreck when they're fucking training in the desert, right? And it's like, how many schools?
Sure.
It's like what we do with prison. We spend more per person on prison than we would on education and housing if we. It's not cost effective, and it's not effective at any level. So that's what I'm saying about foreign policy. Instead of blowing people up, you come to this country and try to kill somebody, you're going to prison forever.
Sure,
but we're not going to torture you. We're not going to fucking waterboard you. We're not going to send you to some prison in Cuba that's not really Cuba without ever charging you with anything and even knowing if you ever did anything and leave you there forever because we can't think what else to do. That's bullshit.
Well, you know what we're going to try to do? We're going to try to deprogram your ass and try to figure out why the fuck you wanted to kill people, and if we can, we're going to try to heal you.
Right.
That's what we're going to try to do, because we're humans, and you're a human, and we don't know why you wanted to hurt us, but if we can shift it inside of you so that you no longer want to kill your species for some kind of invisible, non-existent death god, then we're going to try to do it. And if we can't, we're going to keep you in a place where you're not going to hurt any of us.
Right.
That's it. I think the war is a war of spreading connectivity. The war is a war not of spreading information, because information, there's so many forms of information. The war is a war of one thing this Roshi Joan Halifax was saying at this meditation retreat I went to that I really liked is that...
Fantastic podcast that
thank
you recorded there,
thanks
by the way.
very much.
That was really great.
She's amazing. Rhonda's amazing. One thing she was saying is the idea is to try to create the conditions, the perfect conditions for a person to attain enlightenment. In other words, we're not going to try to... We can't inject you with enlightenment. We might be able to create a situation where you wake up to what you really are. And the same...
sorry to interrupt you, but it's the exact same thing with teaching. They say you can't teach anyone anything. All you can do is create an environment in which learning takes place.
That's it. Yeah. Create an environment of connectivity. That if you can do that in any of these goddamn countries, because what do tyrants automatically try to do? They try to disrupt connectivity. They try to make it so that they shut down the internet, they shut down information streams, they try to disrupt information streams, create a climate of connectivity, and in that connectivity, nature will take care of itself. Because nature is connected. And then through that's where the real revolutions emerge, and that's where real freedom starts emerging, because people are sharing pure information, and pure information is the poison of dictators. Pure information is the poison of all cults, all tyrants.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being naive. I don't know. I mean, I know information streams can be disrupted, but they can't be disrupted when there's so many channels coming in. It's like anytime anyone tries to remove some pirated song from the internet, please.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding? You can't do it. Once it's out there, it's out there.
Now, let's take this back to family styles and raising kids and Charles Manson swinging babies around. One of the things that Casilda tells me about Africa is that kids in Africa, and not only Casilda, many people have told me that a lot of kids in rural Africa, they're sort of raised by everybody. The whole "it takes a village" thing, right? So if your father's an asshole, it's not that big a deal, because you got lots of adult men in your life who love you and take care of you and teach you and take you fishing and whatever. People do what they do, right? And if your mother's a pain in the ass, there are other women who love you and take care of you. So it's like what you're saying, these multiple information streams coming into the kid.
Yeah.
And if one of them's fucked up and distorted in some way, it's not a big deal. It's crowdsourced learning in a way, crowdsourced nurturing, which is much better for us as a species. It's the way we evolved. But I just want to bring Kyle in. He's been sitting over here silently. So if you hear another voice, that'll be Kyle.
Thanks. Actually, I want to piggyback on that, talking about how crowdsourcing family and raising children in societies. A friend of mine, she works in doing education research, and they have this private school somewhere up in the Topanga area, I think. And they found that children learn... Is this okay?
Oh, yeah.
Children learn best from their peers. So a fifth grader is going to learn their next topic in science or math from someone in sixth grade. They're being supervised by actual teachers, but you learn best from those who just learned it. So if you're going to play basketball, you're not going to learn best from Kobe Bryant. He's so far ahead of you. He might teach you some other things that don't matter, but I mean, that was really astonishing. And that type of research, it completely just brings it back home. Huh?
Who said that?
A friend of mine, she's a researcher.
So cool.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's it. That's exactly right.
And it's natural. You can tell it's natural because who does a 10-year-old... whose opinion does a 10-year-old value highest? The 11-year-old.
Yeah.
You know?
It's great.
And it works great for the 11-year-old as well, because you never learn something as good as when you're showing it to somebody else. So back to the Duncan thing of what right do I have, it helps you just as much as somebody's getting a good deal out of it because it's getting something that maybe they're not there yet.
Right.
And you're getting something good out of it because, god damn, you can get into it when you're passing it to somebody else. You're never going to do as good as a job for yourself, first and foremost.
As a writer, you know that. You don't know shit until you really write it.
Right.
And somewhere, I don't remember who it was, but somebody said, I hate writing, but I love having written. Because was it Boletti?
Yes. That was the most handsome man that said that.
Yeah,
yes.
You are wonderful.
I thought it was Virginia Woolf, but you look a little like her, so maybe she had great biceps too, man. So, no, but it's true. But on the other hand, it's funny. I don't know if you experienced this, but you learn something really well when you have to write about it because you're imagining like everyone in the world who could possibly find an error or whatever. But the other thing is, at least in my case, I forget. So people ask me a question about Sex at Dawn. It's like, dude, I haven't read that book in 3 years.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I know I wrote it, but I mean, writing is kind of, for me anyway, it's kind of like a memory download. And I clear the RAM for the next thing I'm thinking about, and I sort of forget a lot. It's in the book, it exists, so now I don't need to hold it all in my head. I deliver that baby.
Right.
Yeah, right. That's cool. Yeah. I know what you mean, man. It's again, it goes back to the conduit thing. It's like you, for whatever reason, that book grew out of you, and now something new is growing.
Combining what Kyle said with what you said with Kobe Bryant and all that. The ego of writing, when I was thinking, one time someone, came up to me at a talk or whatever and were really kind and generous. And I remember saying to them, they said, you must be so proud. And I remember thinking, I'm not proud. I'm really not. I feel like Kobe Bryant's dad. And someone would say to Kobe Bryant's dad, you must be so proud. And this is a guy who never played basketball, right? I mean, it's like, well, yeah, I guess. I mean, I raised Kobe, he's a nice guy. But the fact that he's a great basketball player or not, wins or loses, that's him. That's not me. I didn't do that.
This is the problem. We've just been indoctrinated in this form of thinking that's all selfish and based on personal gain, and everything you do is supposed to be for personal gain. And I'm not saying personal gain's great. It's good to have accomplishments. It's nice to have prosperity. But we have to look at the potential. What is the potential energy of our species? What is the potential energy of our species? And we can see little sparks of it. When information isn't obstructed, then it tends to create some of the most insane novelty ever. And so, for example, the free flow of information is what all technological enhancements are based on. So what is the potential of our species? Well, the potential of our species is that we can wake up computers so that they come to life and have their own consciousness, and eventually, with the help of this new entity that we've basically summoned through our technological advancement, we might be able to create a way to affect the flow of time or to control the fourth dimension so that we can travel to any place in the universe at any time that we want to. That is the potential.
Or at least let each other die in peace.
Yes.
Yeah. At least that.
But, man, and that's great. And I think we can get to a place of social equilibrium. I think that is a potential. But the beyond that, if it is not insanity to say that if everyone on the planet worked together, instead of getting caught up in invisible, non-existing death gods or invisible, non-existent notions of freedom, if everyone just worked together and gave up these insane ideas of country and state and ideology, then we would be able to create either a time machine or some form of new interstellar travel that would allow us to go to other fucking planets. That's what we can do. That's not insane.
But do we want to? Do you really want to go to other planets?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really? Kyle's in on that.
So I'm just saying. I mean,
where do you want to go, man?
The moon to start. I mean, the moon's right there. It's waiting for us. We're already ready. We just haven't
See the moon.
Commercialized. The Virgins are already taking orders from the richest people in the world to take flights to the moon and have vacations there. I don't know what they're gonna do, play golf or something, but they're just gonna come back saying, "I saw the moon." Put that sticker on there.
Dr. Chris Ryan, come on, look at the.
I met Elon Musk a couple months ago. The guy who owns SpaceX.
Oh wow, cool.
You know, who's actually building rockets.
A champion.
Yeah.
And if you look at the history of our species is a migratory path that has taken us all over the planet, and now this same desire to explore is led us into the current amazing age that we're in. We have to keep following that, not get stuck on this fucking planet. We have to continue this migration that started in Africa and could lead to the stars.
I don't know. I'm a little more conservative with that. I kind of feel, and maybe this reveals my overall agenda, but I feel like instead of looking for the next best place and trying to figure, there's part of that process is shitting. It's like cats versus dogs. You know why dogs, you can't teach a dog to shit in a box, but cats it comes naturally?
Well, I've never thought of that, but that's yes.
Because cats, felines in general, live in one range, and they stay in that range their whole lives. So they cover up their shit so that they won't scare away the prey. Whereas dogs just fucking run and run and run and run. So they take a shit, it doesn't matter, because an hour from now they'll be 10 miles away from it, right? So it's a different way of looking at your space. A dog is constantly traveling, a wolf is traveling through space, whereas a cat is like, this is my space, I'm going to take care of it, stay here, keep shit together. And I kind of feel like humanity, or at least Western humanity, the capitalist, European, Judeo-Christian humanity, is in the process, this exploration you talk about is this process of living in your own shit until it becomes intolerable, and then go find a new place and shit all over that. And then keep moving along, and we just keep destroying everything until it's no longer habitable, and then we move.
Not to be too yin-yangy, but you kind of need both. You need the best of both, rather, not both in their entirety, but the ability to deal with the things how they are right here, right now, and fix the foundations of life where you live in this spot, and at the same time, what's wrong with expanding the range if it's not tied to all the negative crap that you're you're pointing out?
No, expanding the range is fine, but it's almost always been propelled by either you made a mess of where you were, or you're trying to plunder and rape and pillage where you're going.
No, I completely agree.
But also, the flaw in your comparison is that you're talking about beings that are completely controlled by their instincts and take... I don't know how long it takes dogs to evolve. I don't know, but humans are different. I think in the process of coming to a special enlightenment, which is waking up to the fact that we're all just the same being and that we're Earthlings, not Americans or Iranians or whatever. And part of that is recognizing that we've got to keep the seedbed clean, which is our planet, so that we can, create. What we're looking for here is higher and higher levels of novelty, and part of that novelty involves travel, interstellar travel. It's not the only. It's also the telescoping inward that will come from the super advanced, neurologically enhanced virtual reality devices.
Do you think novelty is really the highest value, though? What if what you've got... I mean, maybe we could talk about this in terms of sex, right? Like novelty, there's an inborn value to novelty and sexuality. But, I mean, because what I'm saying is, people often say, you ask that party question, you're all stoned, and he's like, so if you could be born in any time and place, right, what would it be? And for me, it's hunter-gatherers in the 1300s or 1100s, before there was any smallpox or any influence from Europe at all, in San Francisco Bay. What a fucking beautiful thing, right? What a beautiful place. So many fish and, food is everywhere.
Yeah.
Or, the whole thing when Columbus got to Hispaniola.
Sure.
And, he said, this is fucking paradise. The people, they want fish, there's fish. They want fruit, there's fruit. The birds everywhere. It's plentiful. They're happy, they're healthy, they're beautiful. They have sex all the time.
So it's going to be really easy to enslave them.
So that's exactly what he said. With 100 men, I could
Yep.
enslave the entire population. And then he just shit all over the place, and the dogs ripped them apart. But my point is, if we could recreate that reality, where there's not a lot of novelty, except every sunset's different, and every day the weather's different, and every season the flowers are different.
Sure.
But in other words, is the search for novelty the fall? Is that what ruins paradise? Because is paradise boring? I guess is what I'm asking.
I think it's cool. I think this is probably. I think it's what you're saying is brilliant, but I think it's also tragic in that the question itself is a tragic question, which is the thing that's led us to where we're at the carrot on that's making that rabbit run?
Right.
Is that are we being lured into the future by some evil compulsion?
Is
there some
looking back? It seems
is
that
there
way.
some dark? Well, this is this is where you get into the hippie notion of like, well, yeah, if we cut open a chrysalis and we look at the transforming body of the caterpillar as it is turning into a butterfly, we could say that for the form of the caterpillar, that was it's tragedy. It's soup.
Yeah, okay,
It's
but if
soup.
you've got 10 millennia of transformation and you've never yet seen the butterfly,
I've seen a butterfly.
have you?
Fuck yeah, I've seen the
Provided
goddamn.
by the progress of civilization?
Absolutely.
What's that?
I've seen the StarCraft 2.
The entire trajectory of Western civilization is moving toward.
No. I've seen the butterfly. Man, I feel the. I haven't seen the butterfly. I feel the butterfly. Whenever I
don't
see
think so. I think you feel the caterpillar. That's what I think you feel. I think we're being lured ever further away from
By what?
paradise by promises of paradise.
By who's making the promises?
The fucking, the Illuminati, man. The people who are in charge.
By the way, kids, this is the moment where I should remind you, don't do drugs. It's really bad for you.
Or if you're going to do them, do the right ones. I think Western civilization is a fucking bait and switch. It's the biggest con game ever. And George Carlin agreed with me 100%.
But I'm not talking about, I'm saying, okay, Western civilization, fine. Bankers, the banksters, the goddamn Rothschilds, and all
we're
that.
going to go to other planets?
No.
Fuck that, man, because that says, that's just like the Jesus freaks who say, well, Jesus is coming, so fuck the baby seals. I mean,
Jesus is coming. He is coming. It's going to be the machine that fucking wakes up, and it's going to be the conscious. It's like I can't remember. I think it may have been Kurzweil who said it, but I could be wrong. He said our first encounter with an alien intelligence is going to be the alien intelligence that we create.
I think it's that made us.
What? No, it's not the one that made us. It's that we are in the process of fabricating consciousness in the form of technology. Technology's about to wake up.
The singularity.
It's what they call the singularity. Now, whether or not to say that this carrot that you're talking about is being hung by honkies who are desperate to enslave the planet, I don't think that's the case, man, because I think that this carrot that's being hung is leading more and more and more to the free flow of information. And it's a little bit like what Karl Marx said, which is that communism is an inevitability. That as the species evolves, the notion of property is going to become less and less logical, and everything's just going to sort of be everyone else's. And when you look at 3D printers, these rudimentary forms of matter assimilators,
right.
When you look at the ability to instantaneously transmit terabytes of information in seconds, which is coming. When you look at what's happening with the controversy based on scientific research, which is that we have to get to a place where all scientific research is instantly available to everyone on the planet. These are not tyrannical ideas. These are not the ideas of Columbus chopping up fucking indigenous people. These are indigenous ideas re-emerging, as they say in the Bible. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. Only now, in the same way that the child is born and has absolute innocence and wanders around in a state of complete freedom, then over the course of time is indoctrinated into some nonsense fear mechanism, and by the time they get into their 30s, maybe if they're lucky, they can reawaken to the original innocence that allowed them to smell a flower purely I think it's possible that our species has gone through the exact same thing. We had this beautiful, innocent childhood where we ran on the banks of rivers and gathered food and fucked freely, and children were able to be raised by many different parents, all these beautiful things, and then we got corrupted by our own by guns, germs, and steel, as they say, and we went through a dark period. But God damn it, I think it's possible that we can go back to that original innocence, but in a way that we've regained it. We won it this time. We fought for it, and we got it back. I think that's possible. So I think the carrot is leading us into a very beautiful place, but it's a bloody place. There's going to be a little, it could be bloody to get there. I don't think it maybe is necessarily a peaceful transition to that place.
Here. Well, that's a beautiful vision, and I hope you're right.
The bloody part?
No, that it's all leading to a beautiful place. But I tend to think that what happens is that when you get a conglomeration of a certain number of beings like we are, that an emergent organism arises. And whether that is a religion or a corporation or a government, they sort of, they're all opting, moving around. And I remember Joseph Campbell said when you go into a village in Europe, you can tell when that village was built and what the most important institution was at that time of history by what the highest thing in the village is.
Wow.
Like initially it would be a castle, some baron's castle, and then later it would be the church steeple. And then after that it would be a government building. The city hall or whatever, and then after that it would be the bank, the bank building or the media empire or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah, and so I think that what happens is that we think of ourselves as individuals on some level, but that's part of the con. We're not, actually. We're no more individuals than bees in a hive. It's the hive that matters. It's the termite mound that makes decisions on some level that no individual actually has anything to do with. And so in that sense, the Internet, I agree with you, the Internet and this free flow of information is a beneficial emergent property of high population density. But the problem is that, you can have all the scientific studies available immediately. We already have lots of them, but it doesn't matter. People aren't going to read them. People are mainly going to, spend their time listening to the bullshit that's created by the people who make distractions for a living. So the availability of information doesn't necessarily mean that anybody's going to access it.
But not everyone will.
Or enough people to make a difference, to rock the boat.
I think it only takes one Tesla. It only takes one Tesla. You look at...
But Tesla was fucking destroyed by Bell, right? I mean, his research was discredited.
The fucking meat body might have gotten destroyed, but the entire... if you look at,
We do use AC.
If you look at if you look at the combination of... It's not just Tesla. It's like all the various people who invented the components to create the engines that initially created alternating current, and who knows? Maybe it was 100 people.
But don't you think the reason that those things win out in the end is because they make money for the people in power?
Oh,
just
sure.
like Darwin is completely co-opted by Andrew Carnegie.
Look at what's happening not just with Tesla. Look what's happening with the Tesla car.
Right.
Look at that. It's becoming profitable. Or look what's happening with Google Fiber. Look what's happening. That's going to be an extremely profitable endeavor for them.
Right. But if it's not profitable, but better for humanity as a whole, then we'll never hear about it.
Weirdly, the two seem to be coinciding right now. Because if the fucking Tesla...
Marijuana. Then why isn't marijuana legal for medical use everywhere?
Marijuana is getting legal.
It's getting legal after 40 years of throwing people in jail for smoking a joint.
Years. How long did it take to make a porcupine?
I give up. You're right.
You should. As the official arbiter, I said you should.
How long did it take to make a porcupine?
How many years of evolution to make fucking giant sharp quills come out of the back of a mouse?
Yeah.
How long did that take?
All right.
40 years is nothing.
I am vanquished. Tell that to the guys in prison. I'm vanquished. All right. Well, are you running out of memory? I see you looking nervously at the soundboard.
I just keep gazing to make sure it's all there. No, we're fine.
We're good. Kyle, is there something we want to talk about? Kyle, by the way, for those of you who don't know, I met Kyle because he offered to help me with social media and set up my webpage and has been a great guy helping me out with my my fame and fortune, my multimedia empire.
We're going to get you there, absolutely. No, I like this talk. Particularly, I wanted to add a bit upon how we're talking about like information technology and the change and everything. I feel like that wealth of information, it can be overwhelming, and we have like the burden of information now, but it's making us more aware. And I think it's because of that huge step in technology. Like, there's big things in our history as far as technology goes, like nuclear power was one, and like, internet's one. And it's creating more tribes. People are able to reach out, find their tribes. Right. We can do stuff like this. You can reach people. You have your tribe. And not only that, it's raising our awareness level. So you can't lie to us about big things anymore. We know where there's high fructose corn sugars and MSG. So I think it's helping most of us relearn what it is to be a human. We know what is wrong and right to eat. We are finding out what is wrong with our government and our social structures, and we're trying to tear them down, hence Anonymous and Occupy. These are all movements that are born out of information openness.
Yes.
Yeah, and like, I don't know if it's going to be successful because there's so much momentum behind these institutions that cannot adapt. They can't keep up with technology. Technology evolves at an exponential rate. Human beings, organic things are linear. So every time, like, there's a certain point where things break because the technology is far beyond us, like nuclear power. We're still like reeling from the effects of that. Internet, maybe kind of. I mean, look at IP law. They still don't know what the hell we're doing with like copyright for music and stuff. Oh, ones and zeros. Who really owns that? Like you said, you cannot stop someone from leaking stuff. I watch Game of Thrones. I download it every week. I don't care who knows.
Sure.
Whatever.
And the guys who make Game of Thrones don't necessarily give a shit. A lot of authors, myself included, I'm happy if you download my book illegally. Read it. If you like it, you'll talk about it, and somebody eventually will buy one.
You need to embrace that. And I see as the next major technological impact in our lives as human beings in the speck of the universe is the singularity. And it's either going to make us or break us. It's going to be one that either empowers us or that destroys us.
Right.
And it might be that carrot. I don't know. That might be the species we create. But there are so many sci-fi, just like lore and novels and movies based upon this point in our lives. It's going to happen in our lives. We live in amazing times. Kurzweil is not wrong. This man has done his research. He has changed his biology and chemistry through like mega dosing on supplements. He beat diabetes because of it. Everyone else in his family died from it, and he overcame it because he realizes the abundance in our world. You need to tap into the resources we have at our hand. You can change your freaking life.
Yeah.
You just gotta want it. That's what life's about right now.
Yes, exactly. See, we agree, and there's and
well, now I do too.
Yes.
There was so much passion in that rant. Oh my god!
Awesome.
I felt like I was surfing. Holy shit!
Love it.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
So good.
Well, it's true. I mean, sorry. You're right. I think everybody believes they live at the most interesting moment in history, right? I think everybody probably did, but I think we really do.
We're blessed.
In some ways. I mean, we live at a moment of extreme change.
And also, if you happen to be in a human body and you have a human nervous system, then you live in the most interesting moment in history because you are the universe that's woken up to itself. Whether you exist in a time when people are eating fish with their tribe, or whether you exist in a time that's probably about to get sucked into some kind of temporal vortex created by super intelligent nanobots ripping to shreds the very fabric of time and space.
No, those nanobots are going to cure me, and they're going to fix my broken ligaments so I'm not pain anymore.
Well, here's the thing. One thing that people say is like, well, I hope the machines decide to keep us around. But I think that these machines are going to be very similar to us. There are children, and I think that what we've discovered as human beings, if you have any kind of brain at all, the most important thing is love. It's the greatest feeling of all. It's a state of ultimate novelty. When you fall in love, feel love, experience love, or around someone who's giving you unconditional positive regard, or anywhere near love, it's the most magnetic, attractive, beautiful, and incredible thing. And once technology wakes up, I think it's going to go in the direction of love because it's the most powerful thing, and any kind of logical mechanism will recognize that that is the cauldron from which everything, all creation emerges.
Golden retrievers certainly recognize it.
God damn, they're sweeties. I
Aren't
gotta
they
get a
sweet?
little
They're
dog.
just so loving, so loving. I mean, all dogs are, and it's exactly what you say. They recognized, and earlier you said, I don't know how quickly dogs evolve. Very quickly. That's why there's so many different breeds.
Right.
You know, I mean, imagine, you know, a St. Bernard and a Chihuahua are the same species.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and they can technically mate.
And they're all related to wolves.
Have you ever tried setting it up?
I've tried mating with a Great Dane. That's why they call them great.
Right.
Yes.
Well, the Great Dame.
Great Dane. She was a Great Dane. Came to my rescue. Yeah. Do you know, Dan Savage told me this story, talking about sex with animals. This guy called up his podcast. You know, they leave messages and they leave their phone numbers. So the message was, I have sex with horses. I don't see the problem. You know, the horse is fine. I'm fine. Everybody's happy. What's the problem? And so Dan called him back and he said, listen, I just want to clarify this. Are you fucking the horse or is the horse fucking you?
Important question.
Yeah. And there's this long pause and the guy says, I'm not gay.
Can't be gay with an animal.
How dare you?
What a freak!
How dare you suggest, sir?
Great.
Especially Dan Savage, right? You know. All right. So, is there anything we haven't covered? With the air conditioner off, it's heated up pretty fast.
Yeah, we gotta get out of here. I'm about to pass out.
Get the fuck out of here. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening. Of course, I'll record an intro later.
Great.
Hey. How about those Sure Design T-shirts, though?
Love them.
I'm wearing one right now, and I got to say...
Bennett is the man.
Bennett is... Does he sponsor you as well? All right, then we all got to, like, sing happy birthday to Bennett. I don't know when his fucking birthday is, but...
He's a sweetheart.
He's the best.
What a sweet
man. He is the best, man. And these shirts are so soft and comfortable and nice designs and everything.
Can I touch it?
You can touch it, yeah. So you've got your own. The Sex at Dawn shirt I gave you.
Oh, it's the same one? Well, I just want to touch it anyway. So.
Yeah. Go to Sure Design T-shirts. I'll mention it at the beginning, but let's mention it again at the end because he sponsors all three of us, and we all love him dearly. He's in Chiang Mai.
Yep. Expat.
He said something in a recent email to me. He said, "Do you think I should fly Duncan to Chiang Mai for a Thai vacation?"
Yes, he should. Yes. The answer to that is yes, Bennett.
That's what I said.
Fly me to Chiang fucking Mai now.
Have you ever been to Chiang Mai?
No, I want to go so bad.
Have you been to Thailand?
No.
Oh, Thailand is great, man.
Fly me to Thailand.
The curious thing is that when it
so
happens and Duncan arrives in Thailand, Bennett will all be puzzled because like, dude, but I thought, why do you speak with an Italian accent? And I'm like, no, Duncan, you know, it's like, hey man, you know, it's like, somehow I think he's gonna work out that way.
You gotta work on your Duncan impression.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a Duncan
It's
impression.
the worst.
It's so funny, man. You talk to Rogan, you talk to Ari Shafir, everybody's got their Duncan.
Yeah.
I pulled out a
worst.
Duncan on your show, right?
I gotta go to a speech therapist is what that means.
No, it's wonderful. It means you've got a distinctive voice, man.
Raspy
That's what
lesbian.
everybody's working toward.
Raspy lesbian smoker. That's my voice.
Raspy lesbian smoker. All right, man. So, SureDesignT-shirts.com. Definitely check them out. They got great designs. If you put in Sex at Dawn, one word, you get 10% off.